Hey, I'm Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Stamp Swap from Stonemaier Games. Stamp Swap is a 1 to 5 player game in which across 3 rounds, players are trying to curate and put together the best stamp collection they can. To do that, each round is going to follow a 3-step process. First, you're going to go through a collect phase where you're going to gather new stamps, then you're going to swap stamps with other players, and then you're going to show, which means you're going to pick one of these awards and then try to figure out how you can get the most points as possible from the stamps you currently got. So again, 3 phases: gather stamps, trade stamps, and then show your stamps until you get to the end of the game where you go through endgame scoring. That's the basic arc of the game, but there's a bit more to it than that, because the collect phase, the way that's going to work is you're going to go ahead and reveal these equal to the number of players. You're going to reveal one of these. You're going to have one which is your bottom card. Let's pretend we're set up a 2-player game over here. You're going to go ahead and reveal 2 of these cards, and you're going to put out all these stamps and have this ability in play. So for right now, let's go ahead and put that over there. Let's put these back up over here, and let's reveal these stamps. So whenever you see this over here, it's going to be a face down stamp. That's going to be a face up stamp. So let's go through it right now. Let's go ahead and gather these stamps over here. We have, from this category, we have 4 stamps. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, and then a face down one. For the next category of those stamps over there, we're going to have 2 of these longer ones, 1 face up and 1 face down. Ooh, look at that foil one. That's going to be fun over there. From these big ones over here, you're going to have 2 face down, so we won't see what's going on over there. And then from the next category, from these small ones over there, you're going to have 2 face up, so we'll see everything that's going on over there. And then we'll have a small forever stamp, which is being added to the pool. And lastly, you'll have 2 cards being added from this deck of cards over here. You're going to have these specialists added to the pools, and all that's going to be together with this first player marker. So this is now the pool of stamps you're creating. Now again, this is all happening in the collect phase. In the collect phase, you reveal cards equal to the number of players. One of these cards will have an ability. The rest of the cards are going to show all the stamps you put in play, and then players are going to go ahead and, starting with the first player, they're going to start taking stamps from this pool, or taking anything from the pool, whether it's a specialist card, a forever stamp, the first player marker, the various stamps you can see over here. This rare stamp could well be a good find. You're going to go ahead and gather that, and the next player goes and takes a stamp as well. Now you're going to do that until you get to 6 stamps. Specifically over here, you can track what you're taking if you want, just for ease of following as you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Players are going to be taking things until they've gathered 6 things. So let's go ahead and do this right now, just quickly, just so you get a sense of the game plays. We're going to have this player go ahead and take a look at this one over here. Let's look at the cards over here. Let's look at this verse, the ability. At the start of the collect phase, add 2 forever stamps from the supply to the pool. So we added 2 more things to the pool. Although this doesn't change how many tiles you're taking, you're still taking only 6. But let's look at the events over here, the specialists. At the start of your turn, doing the swap phase, you may view all of the face down stamps in front of one player. Or during the show phase, you may rotate new stamps into any orientation as you place them. None of these are intriguing enough. I'm going to go ahead and gather, let's see, we have canceled stamps on edges. I'm going to gather one of these. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to look at it, and then it's going to go face down to my pool. So the player who takes this does get to look at it, but then it goes face down. The other players don't know. I'm going to go ahead and grab this over here, and again, I'm playing as both players. I'll look at this one. I have that. This player is now going to go ahead and take a look. They want the cancel stamps on any edge. There's a few cancel stamps over here. Those could be helpful. We want rectangles, 3 per stamp, just, any rectangles at all. We have theme sets of all themes. So if we get not a full set of themes, it's going to be 9 points, and then any 2 colors we pick are going to be 2 points per stamp. And these are going to make more sense shortly, but they are things we're trying to go for, so we want to get things that fit that. And so with that in mind, I'll go ahead and do that. I will go ahead and draft, let's say, let's draft this one. These often have 2 stamps on the other side. Sure enough, ooh, we got 2 canceled stamps. That's excellent over there. That's going to be very helpful. The next player is going to go ahead and gather, let's say they'll gather this, let's say they take a forever stamp, because those can be very helpful for the end of the game. I'll take another canceled stamp. They see me doing that. Maybe they go ahead and deny me a canceled stamp over there. I'll go ahead and grab this one, hoping it's a canceled stamp. It's not, but it is worth 3 points, so that's still helpful over there. We're going to again put it face down. This player will go ahead, let's double down the forever stamp cycle over here, start getting those in play. And then I'll go ahead and grab this card over here, and then maybe they go ahead and, they really could double down the forever stamps if they want, which could be helpful, because it's also any rectangles worth 3 points. So, let's go ahead and gather that. Let's take those over there. And then that, oh wait, we have one more person over here. Let's go ahead and gather, let's take this marker for 2 points, and then we'll just go ahead at the end of the round. That's going to be your round. You take your 6 items. There is a small thing where if you're the last player, you go ahead and take this if no one claimed it, but otherwise you'd have to claim this as you go. That's basically the round of collecting, but that's not where the game ends, or the round even ends. Now you move to the swap phase. In the swap phase, you're going to move over there, and then you're going to take 1 stamp, and you're going to make that 1 stamp not allowed to be taken, or 1 thing I should say. Any 1 thing will not be taken. You can reserve it, but you cannot reserve a rare stamp. And so let's say for me, I'll go ahead and reserve, I'll reserve this because he's clearly going for, no. I'm gonna reserve. Yeah, I'll reserve this over here. We'll put that into pool over there. Alternatively, maybe I want to force them to choose it. I'll reserve this. It'll all make sense soon. And on my end, I'm going to reserve this double stamp over here. And then separately, the players then make pools. So for example, maybe I sit there and say, you know what? We're gonna go ahead and put together this along with two of those, and this is gonna be the pools we create right now. These are the options, the two sets we're making. And this player will go ahead and say we're gonna put together that together with this card over here, and then this thing over here, and then put together these face down things and see what he chooses. You're basically creating an I cut, you choose mechanic where you create two pools in front of yourselves, and then players are going to, in turn order, based on who took the turn order marker at the end of the round, they're going to go ahead and take one of those pools. So for example, if this player is going first right now, they take a look and they say, you know what? This, I know what it is. I know what this is, I know what this is, but I think you're trying to hide these from me, so I'm going to go ahead and grab these and take these into my pool. At that point, these go back to the player. No one else can take anything. Now in a two-player game, that wouldn't really matter, but in a larger player count game, you make it that so you can never have both of your piles taken. As soon as one pile is taken, you pull back the rest of your stamps, and those are now safe. And then you go to the other player, and now it's your turn, and you go ahead and take a look at these, and we're actually going to take the cancel stamp because I think we're going to try to score this round, plus we get the edge and forever stamps. Once you're done with that, the players are now going to go to the show phase where they go ahead and arrange their stamps on the player board and try to get as many points as possible. Now first of all, the number on a stamp is the points you're going to get, so that's the first thing. Forever stamps are going to be worth whoever has the most of them in the game gets 10 points. That's when you're vying for a majority of them in the game. And then outside of that, you're trying to go for these. So there's going to be 3 rounds of play, and in each round, you can assign one ticket to one of these things to try to get the points from it. So let's see what we can go ahead and get over here. This person has a bunch of small little, any rectangles, 3 points per stamp. That could be a big chunk over here. I'm going to flip these all over. I might just try to go for the edge scoring. Let's take a look at what we have over here. Let's try to arrange this because we can go ahead. Stamps on any edge is 2 points per stamp. You do have to arrange the stamps in order. This symbol over here where there's no number, that's going to be a cancel stamp. So I'm giving up points for those right now, but I'm getting points for it over there. So that could be helpful over there. Maybe I'll do that now and get it out of the way. And this way I don't have to gather more cancel stamps. I'll go ahead and put these out, and you can put them however you want, but you can't move them later. And this player will go ahead and do the same. We'll put these out over here. And again, these will all be worth points at the end of the game. So you're going to go ahead and get your stamp values later. Let's see what we go ahead and get from these players over here. So this player over here will, sure enough, they'll take their ticket and they'll put it on the canceled stamps on any edge. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4 canceled stamps. They will get 8 points. They're going to get 8 points right now for that. They also get 1 point per animal stamp just because every player starts with an exhibitor that gives them a different way that they score more than the other players. And you can get more of those cards, but for right now, it's going to be 1 point per animal stamp and 1 point per monument stamp. So you're going to try to get that extra. There's no animal stamps over here, so nothing to gain over there. This person over here is going to get, well, at the end of the game, they'll get the points for these. But right now, they could do the 2 colors. They could just do any stamp. It's not a great time. Maybe it will. You know, they'll go ahead and do that. They'll just say you get 3 points for any stamp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Period. We just get 15 points over there. Done. So we get 3 points per stamp in any of those stamps, and we get 15 points, which is great. The problem is the other player might be able to cash it out later, but otherwise I'm not really scoring much if I don't do that. That's basically how you play through a round. You're going to do that, and you're going to go ahead to the next round, and you're going to continue the process of collecting again, getting rid of these cards over here. The ability card goes away. The other card goes under the deck, which depending on the player count, you may or may not see it again, but that way you ensure that you never use the same ability, but you might see the same other cards as far as their sets of stamps that'll come out. You do that for 3 rounds, and you go through endgame scoring. Endgame scoring is going to have you measuring up forever stamps, whoever gets points for that. The actual stamp values over here, it's worth noting rare stamps are worth more points, but they cannot be reserved, which means you may or may not end up with them. And also, they do not count for a color or for a type when you're looking at various things that count for that. You also have the stamp values, which we talked about. We have the specialist cards, which the specialist cards are going to be worth 2 points over here. And then you have the finale contest card, which over here is 5 points for every 1 by 1 hole, which I should have probably shown you how that works over here, but had we done something like that, that would be a 1 by 1 hole over there to give us 5 points. So if you can build towards a lot of those, you have your final scoring card, which is going to be the last way you score. That is basically how you play through Stamp Swap, which means it's time to go into my review, starting off with ease of play. Rulebook is fairly straightforward. It's a Stone Mario games. They usually are pretty good at giving you all the information fairly, easy to absorb and absorbable, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But overall, the rulebook is fairly easy to go through. The game is fairly easy to teach. It plays in around 45 minutes to an hour, the 3 rounds of play. You can probably knock out a game in half an hour if you're playing with 2 players or people who know what's really going on. But I'd say typically you're looking at the maybe 30 to 60 minute range. I actually don't know what the box says. Box says 20 to 60 minute range, so I guess that's not that far off. But anyways, that's going to be as far as ease of play. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which is I like I cut, you choose mechanics. In general, when a game has you trying to create piles, and then trying to figure out the value of those piles for other players, I enjoy that mechanic and the tension it provides, both as you construct the pile and as other players choose. I also like the variable scoring goals. These cards are going to be different every single game. There's a whole set of each card for different colors over here. There's different endgame cards, which means between the stamps you see, between the cards you see, between the specialists that will or won't come out, you have a lot of variability to the experience that's going to make it different every single time you play. There's also a good degree of acceleration to the game in the way that you're going to be scoring a little points as you go in the first round, but then more points in the second round, more points in the third round, because inherently the nature of these goals is whichever goal you pick in the first round is limited to the stamps you have. But the second goal in round 2 is going to be have more stamps. The third goal is going to have more stamps, which means if depending on how the game plays out, you very often could have a player earning more points in subsequent rounds and pulling ahead. It's also, there will be times where a player may not have as many in-game points, but they have a lot more points on their board. If I sat there and focused on getting a bunch of early game points in my cancel stamps, but you have the actual values on the board, that's going to result in a big end game difference, so you can't really just fully rely on looking at the scoreboard, which means the person who seems to be in the lead may or may not be in the lead at any given time. But all of that gives a nice arc of, well, first of all, not knowing who's winning, but also a degree of catch up to the experience in which just because you're losing in a first round, you may not be losing in subsequent rounds, although we will touch upon that later. That's basically the overall game. It's fairly straightforward, it's easy to teach, it's easy to play, it has I cut, you choose, it has variability to the experience, and overall just gives you a nice puzzle of trying to optimize your stamp collection. As far as things I don't like in the game, there are a few small things. First of all, I kind of wish placement on this grid mattered more, and don't get me wrong, it matters. Like you saw over here, we have the cancel stamps along the edge, so you're trying to get them along the edge. You have these holes you're creating over here. That actually, by the way, so far from all the cards I've played, that is the puzzle to me that makes your board matter the most. That single card, and I haven't necessarily played every single card, but from all the ones I've played, that is the card in which your board matters the most. Everything else you do doesn't seem to matter as much as I would like it to. For example, even this cancel stamps on the edge, first of all, these don't matter at all. You just have to have them. There's no placement rules as far as the board, as far as trying to where they go. This cancel stamps on the edge is very easy to do. It's sure, you have a restriction, but it doesn't actually feel like a restriction. It feels like an arbitrary, here's this thing you have to be mindful of, but like, no one cares. It's not a big deal. And so overall, the game just doesn't give you a very, in my opinion, the board and the placement on the board doesn't matter as much as it should. I want the board to matter more and not just a place where you're putting things down. Again, I wish there were a lot more things like this that actually gave you a placement puzzle to go for. I'll also say that the I cut, you choose mechanic does take away a little bit from the meaningfulness of drafting. Although I should say, one of the areas, I've played this game at a bunch of player counts, one of the nice things about the two-player experience that's different about the higher player counts is in a two-player experience, so for example, this rare thing over here, you can't reserve a rare. So in a two-player game, sometimes there's this weird little mini game of trying not to take the rare because the person who does take the rare is the one who's arguably most likely to lose control of it, or at least have it define how they create their piles. So sometimes in a two-player game, because of that back and forth of you're basically swapping stuff, it changes the dynamic of how you pick things, which I actually like that. We're putting that in the I like category. But as far as the rest of it though, it takes away a little bit from the drafting experience when the things you're drafting aren't really guaranteed to be yours. So you have this whole puzzle where you're like, I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and then you get to the next phase and you're like, I wanted all those things, and I can't actually have all those things. I can only have some of those things, which you could argue as to the strategy of the game. To me, I'm not suggesting a change, I guess, because I like the I cut, you choose, and I like the ability to choose, so I like them, but it's still, I think they're two mechanics that they don't fully complement each other as much. It takes away a little bit from the experience of drafting as soon as you have to give away half those tiles. As far as what I can see others not liking, your tiles are never really safe. Again, kind of that aspect touched upon. You're going to gather a bunch of tiles, and then you can immediately watch them being taken away, which is kind of anticlimactic to have. The idea that your tiles are never truly safe, except for that one tile that you can reserve, can just be a hard thing to deal with as a player when you're specifically trying to grab the tiles. And also, and this goes back to the part where I said earlier, I'll come back to it, despite the fact that the game does have an escalation in scoring, in which that what you get in round 2 and round 3 is more than you get in round 1, I will say that sometimes in this game, not always, but sometimes there's been a clear runaway leader, and that can happen in round 2, and then you just have to spend the rest of the game watching them just slowly creep ahead of the win, knowing that they know what they're doing in the game. As far as final thoughts on Stamp Swap, I enjoy Stamp Swap. It's a good game. It checks all the boxes. The mechanics work. I overall had a good time playing this game, but I also don't think it wows me. For context, this is a 3.5 out of 5 for me. It's a 3.5 out of 5. It's a good game. I enjoyed it. I would happily play it again. I've already played it multiple times and I've had a good time with it. I do think the point scoring optimization genre is very full, and that's tricky because it means sometimes there'll be a game that comes out that I'm like, despite the genre being full, I love that game, and sometimes the game will come out and I'm like, this works. It checks checks the boxes. I don't think you'll have a bad time with Stamp Swap. I think it's an enjoyable game. I think it's easy to teach, it's easy to play, it's very accessible. It has a unique theme, which will make it appealing to anyone who wants to lean into this theme in any way, shape, or form, or just wants a different theme. It overall checks all the boxes and does everything well. But for whatever reason, it just didn't wow me. I've had a good time with it. I think if you're looking for, well, a game in this theme and you like point scoring optimization, I definitely recommend checking it out, but I would definitely put this in the more of a try before you buy camp, just given how many games there are in this genre already. But anyways, that's Stamp Swap, a 3.5 out of 5, a good game, and that checks the boxes for me. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, there's Art Society. If you like the idea of placing things down on a grid and one that matters a bit more, Art Society is definitely one that you want to check out. And if you like I Cut You Choose, then Hanamikoji is my favorite game with the I Cut You Choose mechanic. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.